Took some time, but we pointed out.
Good morning and welcome to another sophisticated Saturday where together we work through my to-do list and get stuff done around the house. Now, I'm starting out by writing my to-do list down so I have a complete list of everything that I need to get done and things that I want to get done. So I am putting a couple of stars next to things that I'm not sure if I'll have time for today. And that's just a little reminder to myself that they don't actually need to get done. One thing I probably should have put a star next to is making brunch. I didn't have to make brunch, but I definitely wanted to. This is like me time to me. It recharges my batteries to cook and to bake. So that was the first thing that I wanted to start with this morning. And I was going to do 2 different recipes. The reason I wanted to do both of these was because I felt like they would be great options for maybe like a Mother's Day brunch, and I like both of these because they're both really adaptable recipes. And the first recipe I'm making is a classic Dutch baby. So I will share on the screen all of the ingredients that I'm putting in the blender here to make the pancake. If you've never had a Dutch baby before, it is a German pancake that you bake in the oven and it rises up and gets nice and puffy and big. So I preheated the oven to 450 degrees and put my cast iron skillet in there to warm up and preheat with the oven. A 12-inch cast iron skillet works perfectly for this. And like I said, this recipe and the next recipe I'm going to share are both really adaptable. Dutch babies can be made either sweet or savory. I'm going to do a sweet version, and I'm just dicing up some apples to make a caramelized apple topping. But you can Google Dutch baby topping ideas and come up with a bunch of different things that you could do if apples don't sound good to you and you want to try something on the savory side. This was my first time making a Dutch baby. It turned out great. I am for sure going to make this again, and I would encourage you to try making this recipe. And if you've tried a Dutch baby before, or you're going to give it a try and you have a fun topping idea, definitely leave me a comment below and let me know what you're going to try or what you've tried in the past that you love, because I want to make it again and try something new next time. That skillet is still preheating in the oven. It wasn't quite to a warm enough temperature, and I wanted to let it sit in the oven for about 5 minutes once it had gotten to 450 degrees. So I was going to get started on the second recipe, which is a frittata. And the recipe that I'm making, I found in a magazine, and it was called the Infinitely Adaptable Frittata. So just like the Dutch baby, you can throw whatever you have in your refrigerator into this frittata and it's gonna be delicious. I had some random things in the fridge here, like I had some feta cheese and broccoli. I did some Googling of different ideas for frittata combinations, and I did see one with broccoli and feta. So I went and threw both of those items in, and I wanted to chop up the broccoli pretty nice and small. Once I had it all chopped up, then I heated up my skillet with some olive oil. Had to check on those caramelizing apples for a second. And while the olive oil heats up, then I was going to go back to the Dutch baby. With your piping hot cast iron, add in 1 tablespoon of butter, 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, swirl it around, making sure you get up the sides. You could even use a brush to brush up the sides so it'll rise nice and big. And then you can put it back in the oven for another 20 or so minutes, maybe up to 25 minutes at the most, but it should be nice and puffy and golden brown, and then you'll know it's done. I have my broccoli going in the skillet. I even pulled out some tomatoes that I had diced in the fridge. I thought those would go in there really well. And I had one leftover chicken sausage, so I decided to just toss that in there too, chopped it up, and added that to my skillet. You guys know I've been making an effort to clean as I go, especially when it comes to baking. Baking is just very messy, and when you're doing 2 recipes at once, you're going to have a lot of dishes. Luckily, these 2 ideas don't create a ton of dishes, and it wasn't a lot to clean up, but while the Dutch baby's cooking and the vegetables are warming up, I had a second to clean up.
We are fun and games, us two. Go ahead and prove me wrong. I know how to laugh alone. You could take me in.
Now, the only thing I will say is doing both of these at the same time wasn't ideal because the frittata temperature and the Dutch baby temperature of the oven are different. In retrospect, it probably doesn't really matter as much with the frittata what temperature it's at. It's just watching and making sure that the eggs are set. So I probably could have stuck it in there with the Dutch baby before the Dutch baby was done. But I just topped it with some ricotta. The Dutch baby was almost done anyway. You can see how nice and golden brown and puffy it is. And then I put the frittata in while I started to set the table. I had to put that ooey gooey yummy topping on, and then I added some maple syrup on the table just in case Jim wanted that, as well as some salsa for the frittata. And you'll see I'm pointing out to Jim what everything is, and of course I drop a little bit as I'm bringing it to my plate. You can tell as I'm trying to get a piece of the Dutch baby, it probably would have been better to have a knife there, but tearing it apart worked just fine, and it was so good, like I said. Owen was being awesome this morning and still napping, so I decided to go down and organize the bottom drawer in our kitchen here, which is all of his baby stuff that I honestly have thrown in there. I did not organize anything. I didn't take the time to because we kept getting more baby gifts and different items, and he's not using really any of this. There are some breast milk storage bags that I've taken out of here, but it's mostly stuff for solids, and Owen's still just about 4 months old, so he's not starting solids yet, but I want to get it organized in anticipation of that. And I have a few leftover organizers that I had that I could reuse and repurpose, didn't have to buy anything new, and just rearrange everything and get it as neat and tidy as I can down here.
But you don't even hear my call, and you make me wonder who I am. Do you know what I see? I see myself cry and say you won't be.
Even though we haven't used this drawer since we moved in, I still wanted to wipe it down and make sure there weren't any crumbs in there before I put organizers on top of them. You'll see I'm doing some arranging and rearranging, and I like sharing this part of the process because sometimes it takes a little bit of work to get it just right. And even if I think I have it just right at the end of this process, which I am happy with how it turned out, as Owen starts to eat food, it may prove that we need to reorganize a little bit and it's not working for us and for our family, and that's okay. Just because you organize something doesn't mean it's one and done. Organizing is a process, it's ever evolving, and I honestly think that's kind of fun. It keeps your spaces fresh. It's also helpful to go through your spaces often, go through the decluttering process and reorganizing so it works and it is always in tip-top shape.
Cause hard is too hard to predict, you should admit. Slowly things will come around. I'm still waiting for you to say it, say it. Do you know what I see? I see myself cry and say.
So you'll see I had those plates in the small organizer and the bibs, and they're big items. They didn't really make sense in there, so I moved everything over and made some room to lay those plates flat and the bibs back there, and I'm much happier with how it turned out. Now you'll see I am baby wearing Owen. he woke up and we hung out for a while, and it was time for another nap. So I decided to baby wear him for this so I could keep filming and keep getting stuff done and move on to another Mother's Day idea. And that is making some homemade whipped body butter. I'm using shea butter and sweet almond oil. I did 6 ounces of shea butter that I melted in the microwave. It would be great to do this in a double boiler as well. If you do it in the microwave, just make sure you're doing it in short increments and stirring and just gently melting it. You don't want it to burn or to heat it up too quickly. So while that's heating up, I'm also going to pull out some soap dye. I have some essential oils. I'm going for a lavender scent, but you can do really whatever you want. Color it however you want, leave it a natural color, mix different essential oils. You can get really creative with this, and you can do this for different occasions and different seasons and mix up the essential oils, which I really like about it.
Tomorrow isn't here right now, baby. An absent mind came to roam around. Captured you in a foggy cloud, baby.
So like I said, I had 6 ounces of the shea butter. I added in 4 ounces of the sweet almond oil, and then it should be about 50 or so drops of the essential oil. I tried adding in the soap dye while it was still hot, and that didn't really work out for me. You can definitely add it in while it's still warm. It just won't look like it's integrating into the body butter until you whip it up a little bit later. So I put it in the refrigerator to cool off while I went upstairs to Owen's closet because I needed to tackle his bin of all of his clothing that's too small. You'll see it was completely overflowing, and I needed to empty it out because this kid is growing so fast and flying through clothing. He's done with all of his newborn clothing. He's pretty much out of most of his 0 to 3 month clothing. A lot of swaddles he's not using anymore. Different sleep items that we tried. We're still not doing great with sleep over here. I think it's more than the 4-month sleep regression because I know that's a thing, but it started maybe a month and a half ago. So it was more like the 2.5-month sleep regression, 3-month sleep regression. I'm not sure, but it hasn't been great for a while. But thank goodness he's so cute because it totally makes up for it. And every day I forget what a mess the night was before and just look at that cute, sweet face. But sleep is rough over here, to say the least. I did have some extra bins that I was going to put this into, and I felt like I knew it was going to go into 2 bins, and I thought about different ideas of how I wanted to organize this big pile of clothing. Did I want to do it by size? Did I want to break it down by gender and do a pile of stuff that's just kind of strictly boy stuff and some stuff that's gender neutral for if we have a second child? And then if it's a girl, then I could easily just grab the gender neutral pile, or if it's a boy, then it would work for both. Or do I want to do it just based on size? Anyway, I decided to do size, and then I could pick through it based on gender if I had to. So I will get to that in a second, but I wanted to head back downstairs, check on the body butter, and I pulled it out of the fridge, and it wasn't quite as firm as I wanted it to be. You don't want it to be rock solid, but it shouldn't be liquidy like it is here. And you'll see that soap dye is kind of in chunks. So I wanted to pop that in the freezer for a moment, honestly, just very quickly to expedite that process while I went down to the basement to clean the toilet because we don't use this toilet very often, and it is getting another ring around it from not being flushed often enough. Even though I have it on my weekly cleaning routine to go down and just even give it a flush, it still gets a ring around it. So I use this tool to help clean it. I don't know how well you can see how bad the ring was, but it is so much cleaner after. It doesn't scratch the porcelain in my experience and is a very easy fix and tool if you have a ring around your toilet that you can't get rid of. With that quick toilet clean, that was all it needed for the body butter to firm up enough. You'll see it's still not rock solid. It's definitely malleable and pliable, so I can scoop it out of the container easily and put it into my stand mixer with the whisk attachment, and I'm going to whip that body butter up and make some whipped body butter. And this is just enough to make 2 small containers. So if you're making more of it, you could double, triple, quadruple, whatever the recipe. I love giving gifts like this. In my family, we always get together for Mother's Day, and that's in Minnesota where I grew up. And since we're in Nebraska, I'm going to be with Jim's family. But my family, a lot of times for Mother's Day and Father's Day, people bring like small little gifts for all of the mothers or all of the fathers, and even sometimes just for the adults, even if they aren't mothers or fathers. But they just get a small gift for everyone, like a cooking gadget they've really been loving, or a tool for the guys or something like that. So this would be a really fun idea if you have a Mother's Day event with your family or friends even, and you could just bring everyone a little homemade gift, which I think really just kind of goes the extra step. Even if you go to an event where that's not the norm, it's just kind of a fun little thing, and it hopefully wouldn't make people uncomfortable because it's a homemade gift. They know you didn't spend a ton of money on them, and they won't feel guilty that they didn't get you anything back. But I just always think it's fun to do something a little bit extra and show everyone that you care. I'm probably still going to put some decorations on the outside of these, maybe tie a ribbon on top, definitely put a label on there saying that it's lavender whipped body butter, but this is what it looks like. And of course I had to put some on my arms and lotion up a little bit with that extra. Like I was saying before, I had 2 extra bins that I could put the one overflowing bin into. So I did one pile with preemie and newborn clothing, and no, Owen was not a preemie and he never wore preemie clothing. But my twin nephews were much smaller and they started in preemie clothing, and we get tons and tons of their hand-me-downs, which is really, really nice and helpful so we don't have to buy as much clothing ourselves. And my sister-in-law gave me a lot of their preemie clothing just in case Owen was born early, which he wasn't. He was born late, but I'm still holding on to it for potential future babies, and it's nice to have just in case. So that was the first bin, was the preemie and newborn size. And then the next bin, I'm doing all 0 to 3 month size, which we have a lot more in the 0 to 3 month size. That's when we discovered that Owen likes to spit up and we need to change his outfit a lot more. And I just couldn't honestly keep up with the laundry. So he needed a few more outfits in this size. And in his current size that he's in, 3 to 6 months, he also needs a lot of clothing because we haven't solved that problem either. This was also a good time for me to go through everything and make sure I still like it and I want to keep it and hold on to it. There was nothing that was stained, which I did find one item that was stained, so I'm going to try and wash that one more time before I store it away for another baby. I think Owen's also done with this large pile of baby hats. He never really wore them, even though he was a winter baby. We put him in snowsuits and stuff when he went outside, and he never really wore these types of hats. And now that it's summer, he's definitely not going to, so I'm going to put those away and store them, and then put the 2 bins in our guest bedroom closet for storing until we need it in the future. Now, the last thing that I'm going to do is head down to my office and do a little bit of computer work. You saw that on my to-do list. You also saw that I wanted to paint my nails and go for a walk. I expected Owen would have been awake at this point, and he still wasn't. And I don't like to paint my nails while I'm baby wearing him and he's attached to me. I don't want him like breathing in the smells that much. So I just decided to do my computer work and wait until he woke up, and I was going to take him on a walk with me. So nails will be done later, maybe this evening when he goes to bed or something, or even tomorrow. And when he wakes up, I will feed him and we'll probably go on a family walk. I don't know if you can see Jim outside doing some mowing, but the weather was beautiful, so I really wanted to make sure we got that walk in. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's Sophisticated Saturday. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, I will see you guys later.